for Ondo State. This is a program where we review, preview, and read various making newspaper stories from Nigeria and beyond. I am Abdulrazak Alawai, and with me is
Florence Ibahreman.
on today's edition, we'll be taking stories from the Old newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and the Daily Post newspaper, while my colleague will take us through stories from.
We have stories from the Hope newspaper as well. We have stories from the Punch. We have stories from Guardian. We have stories from Tribune newspaper.
And before dissecting into today's edition, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of the headlines and further stories to come on the other side. Welcome back. You're still on to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 106.7 FM. Starting from the Hope newspaper, talking about 2027 from the Hope newspaper, Ayedatiwa rally support for Tinubu in thank you toll.
Yes, still taking headlines. We have this one from the Hope, and it says Malami knocks EFCC chairman on persecution and alleged bias.
Another one coming from the Hope newspaper talking about Amotekun. Now we have this one talking about Amotekun. We have shortlisted candidates to appear for Amotekun screening in Ondo.
Away from Hope, from my end, I have this one from the Punch. It says Tinubu pledges to sustain Buhari's legacy.
And let me join you shortly on the Punch newspaper as we're talking about Ondo, as well as Ondo APC PDP clash over 10,000 naira and out by Ayedatiwa.
Still taking headlines from the Punch, we have this one says APC chairman appoints a media aide.
And still taking story from the Punch newspaper talking about APC, we have APC chair appoint media aide.
Yes, we have this one. It says police diffuse bomb under network mast in Borno State.
And away from that, still taking story from the Punch newspaper talking about education emergency, we have Yobe Rural School in crisis, stakeholders warn.
Away from the Punch and now to the Nations, where we have Lagos inaugurate anti-human trafficking index officer in councils.
Let me join you on the Nation newspaper taking story from the Federal Road Safety Corps. We have FRSC to prosecute TikToker over alleged reckless driving.
Still taking headlines from the Nations, where we have residents flee Kogi community after attack on church.
Away from the Nation newspaper, taking this story, talking about Ekiti government urges farmer to adopt sustainable palm oil production.
Away from that and straight to Tribune, where we have FCTI court proceed on Christmas and New Year vacation December 22.
And another story coming from the Guardian newspaper talking about PDP. We have PDP 6th state of emergency in Kwara State, says Governor a security risk.
Taking a flight to join you on the Guardian, where we have a story from Osun State saying Osun 2026 PDP shuns own candidate and adopts Accord parties are delicate.
And another story coming lastly from today's edition, we have NSCDC apprehend 2 vandalizing NDDC solar panel ATC transmitter station. From this one coming from another newspaper.
We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll start with the major stories from today's headlines.
And welcome back. You're still on to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 106.7 FM. To reach us or to join us on for this edition on today's episode, you can join us on our social media and do on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or YouTube on iPower 102.7 FM, iPower 1027 FM. To to join us on today's edition as well via our studio line while doing the contribution on this edition. You can join us on 081
655-24699, 081-655-24699, or 0813-274-7339, 0813-274-7339.
Now, starting from the home front, that is Ondo. We have this one coming from Ondo. We have Ondo State Governor Dr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa on Monday toured the 4 Akoko local government area of Akoko Northwest, Akoko Northeast, Akoko Southeast, and Akoko Southwest. He undertook the tour to thank the residents for their support after the election and to galvanize backing for the re-election of President Bola Tinubu in 2027. The governor commenced the tour in Oke-Agbe, headquarters of Akoko Northwest local government area, where traditional rulers, party leaders, members of All Progressive Congress (APC), and residents received him in large numbers. At the Secretariat of Akoko Northwest local government area, the government commissioned 5 Toyota utility vehicles for traditional rulers as well as a bus for the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees (NULGE). Addressing the gathering, Aiyedatiwa expressed gratitude to God for preserving lives and stressed that the visit was not for political campaigning but to appreciate the people for their loyalty and support. He said he promised the party leaders during the electioneering campaign that his visits would not be occasional, that he would visit from time to time, inspect projects, and ensure the fulfillment of promises. He added that the visit was also to convey the party's decision at both national and state level that its candidate for 2027 is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The governor acknowledged the party stakeholders in attendance and expressed his satisfaction at the turnout, despite requesting that only 100 people should be present from each ward. He thanked traditional rulers, chiefs, and youth in Akoko Northwest for their steadfast support and conveyed goodwill messages to residents ahead of the Christmas festival. For detail of this particular story, see the opening newspaper with the headline 2027 Aiyedatiwa rally support for Tinubu in thank you tour.
Yeah, taking stories and headlines from the Hope, where we have Malami knocks EFCC chairman on prosecution alleged bias. Now the details. A former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami's SAN, has demanded the immediate rescue of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for his ongoing investigation alleging bias, personal vendetta, and political persecution linked to his recent defection to the African Democratic Congress. In a strongly worded press release issued on Monday by his media aide, Mohammed Doka, Malami accused the EFCC of conducting what he described as an illegal detention, media harassment, and procedural abuse, insisting that the probe against him was not driven by law enforcement consideration, but by deep-seated historic anomalies on the part of the EFCC leaders. The former Justice Minister anchored his claim on events dating back to his tenure as AGF, when the federal government constituted the Justice Ayo Salami Judicial Commission of inquiry to investigate allegations of corruption and abuse of office within the EFCC. Malami noted that the current EFCC chairman served as secretary to the commissions and that Malami's report on now in the public domain contained adverse findings against him. On the basis, Malami formally called on the EFCC chairman to step aside from the matter and urged the Attorney General of the Federation as the nation's chief law officer to intervene. He said, and I quote, "To restore credibility and public confidence, another appropriate law enforcement agency must handle this matter," he said, warning that failure to act could cause serious institutional damage. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline: Malami knocks EFCC chairman on prosecution and alleged bias.
And still taking story from the Hope newspaper, as we're talking about the shortlisted candidate to appear for Amatekun screening in Ondo. Now, to the detail of this particular story coming from the Old newspaper. The Ondo State Security Network Agency, codenamed Amotekun, has announced the continuation of its ongoing recruitment exercise, directing only candidates who have received screening numbers via SMS to report for the next stage of screening. According to the agency, shortlisted candidates are required to appear in white t-shirt and white shirt and must present their screening number at the venue. The screening exercise is scheduled to hold at the Odatiwa Multipurpose Hall at Motekun headquarters by 7 a.m. on Friday, December 19, 2025. For detail of this particular story, see the opening newspaper with the headline: Shortlisted candidates to appear for a Motekun screening in Ondo.
For those just joining us, the program is in the papers, your daily nugget for stories making major headlines in today's newspaper. And I have this one also from The Punch, and it says, Tinubu pledges to sustain Buhari's legacy. Now the details. President Bola Tinubu on Monday pledged to carry forward the governing echoes he ascribed to the late former President Muhammad Buhari: discipline, integrity, security first governance, and social justice. He said the truest tribute to the late Nigerian leader is to continue his legacy, which results to show. Speaking at the State House, Abuja, during the launch from soldiers to statesmen, the legacy of Muhammad Buhari by Dr. Charles Omole, the president framed Buhari's impact as a standard his administration would deliberately uphold. Tinubu added that President Muhammadu loved the country consistently, morning after morning, decision after decision, staying true to the oath he took. That is why, even though who disagreed with him often acknowledged his honesty. In his remark, the president paid respect to Buhari's family. He described the former leader as one who embodied quiet strength, discipline, and enduring grace rooted in service, and also told Buhari's widow, Aisha, a household, that the Buhari's name would continue to inspire noble service for generations. Tinubu said that the value of Buhari's leadership is in the truth of the strength he left behind. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Tinubu pledged to sustain Buhari's legacy.
Let me join you on the point of the Punch newspaper. Taking the story from the Punch newspaper, we have Ondo APC. PDP clash over 10,000 naira and out by Ajidatwa. Now to the detail of this particular story coming from the Punch newspaper. The Ondo State chapter of All Progressive Congress has denied the allegation that Governor Lucky Ajidatwa distributed 10,000 naira and out to residents during his visits to Akoko area on Monday. The People's Democratic Party (PDP), through its Director of Media and Public Communication, Wande Ajayi, claimed that the governor shared cash and token with people in the 4 local government area of Akoko. The PDP stated, and I quote, "At this point in his tenure, the governor ought to be embarking on a statewide commissioning tour of completed projects rather than parading communities to share 10,000 naira and out and token gesture that insult dignity of the people of Ondo State. Our people are not beggars, and Ondo State is not a charity home." Reacting, APC Director of Media and Publicity, Steve Otaloro, said the governor's visits did not involve charity or serve as a substitute for governance. He explained that such thoughts were a long-standing democratic tradition, allowing elected leaders to engage citizens, listen to concerns, assess projects, and express appreciation to public support. Otaloro added, and I quote, "Contrary to the PDP's claim, this administration has not reduced governance to handout or optics." Aiyedatiwa on Monday, December 15, 2025, began a statewide tour of local government area to thank the people at the grassroots. The tour started with the 4 Akoko local government area of Akoko Northwest, Akoko Northeast, Akoko Southeast, and Akoko South West, where the governor thanked the residents for the support and galvanized backing for the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. For detail of this particular story, see the Punch newspaper with deadline: Ondo APC PDP clash over 10,000 naira and out by Ajidatwa.
You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM. Glad to have you join us. You're still listening to iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers, where we take major headlines, major stories from today's newspaper. I have this one from The Punch, and it says, APC chairman appoints media aide. Now the details. The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Ntawe Iwada, has appointed a seasoned journalist, Mr. Abimbola Toki, as a special advisor on media and communication strategy. According to the statement made available to the Punch on Monday, the APC said the appointment reflected Iwada's confidence in Toki's vast experience, professional pedigree, and proven capacity to deploy strategic communication in strengthening parties' cohesion and public engagement. Commenting on his appointment, Toki said, I am honored by the trust placed in me by the APC national chairman. I look forward to contributing my experience in journalism and media strategy to strengthening the party's communication and public interface. A seasoned journalist and media strategist, Toki has served as editor of Business World newspaper, overseeing editorial directions, productions, and corporate management. He previously rose through the rank as financial standard, earning recognition for his leadership and professional excellence. He has also been a familiar voice on broadcasting media, appearing as a guest analyst on platforms including Channels Television, where he provides insights on public policies and national issues. On his role in shaping the party's communication strategy, Toki added, effective communication is central to ensuring that the party's vision and policies are clearly understood by Nigerians. I hope to bridge the gap between the party and the public through strategic media engagement. For details of that story, see the Punch newspapers with this headline, APC chairman appoints a media aide.
And I'm still taking story from the Punch newspaper as we're taking this one from the Borno State. We have police defuse a bomb on the network marks in Borno. Now to the detail of this particular story. Operatives of the Borno State Police Command on Monday defused an unexploded ordnance planted under a network marks at Tuksun Federal Low Cost Area of Maiduguri. A statement by the police public relations officer of the command, ASP Nahum Daso, indicated that the AOD CBRN Base 13 team made the recovery following a report received by the Divisional Police Officer, ITE Police Division. The statement read in a part, and I quote, the Borno State Police Command under the leadership of the CP Nasiru Abdulmajid had recorded another operational success with the recovery of an unexploded ordain in Maiduguri, thereby averting a potential explosion and threats to the public safety on Monday 15 December 2025 at about 1100 hours. A report was received through the Divisional Police Officer, ITE Police Division, regarding a suspected explosive device following the beneath a network marks located at Chukun Federal Low Cost Area, Maiduguri. Following the operation, he said the command conducted sensational and safety awareness session for community members, emphasizing the importance of vigilance, prompt reporting of suspicious objects, and cooperating with the security agency to prevent security breaches. He, however, added, and I quote, the Commissioner of Police has engaged all divisional police officers across the state to intensify patrol and fortify critical public and private assets, especially communication facilities and other sensitive infrastructure to prevent acts of sabotage and ensure sustained public safety. The Punch also learned that in August reported that the operatives of the command also uncovered and exploded ordain on a farmland in Dakwa local government area of the state. For detail of this particular story, see the Punch newspaper with deadline. Please defuse bomb under network marks in Borno State.
Still taking stories and headlines from the Punch, where we have a story from Yobe State saying Yobe Rural School in crisis. Stakeholders warn. Now the details. Iowa Punch investigation has uncovered parents who lament the poor condition of the state education sector. The parents who spoke with Iowa Punch disclosed that many of the classrooms were overcrowded with aging buildings and severe shortage of qualified personnel. Not a few of these parents and guardians lamented that the current state of Yobe's educational sector appears to be worsened than before the emergency declaration. Specifically, they pointed at communities such as Dikado, the Amayi and the Grani Musa of the Ungere local government area of Yobe State. The father of one of such students, Malam Adamu Dakido, described the poor education system as a learning environment where children try, but the system itself keeps failing them. In Biriri, for instance, some children were seen gathering under the cracked ceiling of the building of a failed primary school hosting faded chalkboards. Dakido said he and other parents have watched for years as their children circled through the educational system that seem unable to provide even basic instructions. Malam Baba Lawan of Biriri community, who is yet another parent, added that even more emotional plea, saying if the government truly wants to save education, they must start from places like this. This is where the emergency is real. This is where children lose their future before it starts. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Yobe Rural School in crisis, stakeholders warn.
And if you're just joining, you're onto in the papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 2.7 FM at Emorele, or Ondo State. You can also join us on our social media handle on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or YouTube on iPower 1027 FM, iPower 1027 FM. So join the studio line to share your contribution on today's headline stories making from Nigeria and beyond. You can also reach out to this number to share your perspective, your opinion, your view on the program for today on 081 655 081 655 or 081 3274739, 081 3274739. Moving on with a story coming from the Nation newspaper, where I have this one talking about Lagos inaugurate anti-human trafficking desk officers in councils. Now, to the detail of this particular story. Lagos State government has inaugurated the local government focal persons and local neighboring security corps (NNSC) anti-human trafficking desk officers. Inaugurating the desk officers yesterday in Alausa Ikeja, the Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice, Lawal Pedro San, said, and I quote, "This structure reflects our belief in coordinating clarity of roles and accountability. The head of legal units provides the legal and institutional anchor within the local government system, while the LNSC officers bring field presence, community intelligence, and operational support." Pedro said the inauguration marked a milestone in the resolve of the Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu government to curb the human trafficking by directing the fight to the grassroots. He noted that human trafficking thrive where institutions are weak, coordination is poor, and earlier warning systems are absent. The state coordinator of the National Agency of the Prevention of Trafficking in Person, we have NAPTIP, Mrs. Ajarat Tunde Osho, who represented the zonal commander, stated that the establishment and the strengthening of the task force represent a critical pillar in the fight against trafficking in person. Mrs. Tunde Osho said it reinforced the fact that human trafficking is best addressed through coordinated multi-sectoral and decentralized responses, particularly at the grassroots where the recruitment and the exploitation often begin. She urged that with the appointment of head of legal units across the 20 local government and 37 local council development area in Lagos, as once again demonstrate leadership in institutionalizing community-based prevention, earlier detention, and referral mechanism. For detail of this particular story, see the Nation newspaper with the headline: Lagos inaugurates anti-human trafficking desk officers in council.
Still taking stories from the nations where we have FRSC to prosecute TikToker over alleged reckless driving. Now the details. The Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC) has announced plans to prosecute popular TikToker streamer Habib Hamzat, as also known as Pella, following the road crash linked to distracted driving. The Corps Marshal of the FRSC, Shehu Mohammed, expressed concern over what it described as a growing trend of reckless road use among celebrities, content creators, and social media influencers, warning that such behavior endangers lives and undermines national road safety efforts. The warning followed a viral video showing Pellas engaging in a live video stream while driving, an act the FRSC said reportedly resulted in a crash. In a statement, the Corps spokesperson Olusegun Ogungbemide Mohammed said the incident serves as a green reminder that fame does not confer immunity from the law, nor does it excuse dangerous behavior on public road. He stressed that live streaming, content creation, or any activity that distracts a driver while driving is a direct violation of traffic regulations and poses serious risks on both the driver and other road users. According to him, such conduct also undermines ongoing efforts to reduce road traffic crashes and fatalities across the country. Mohammed directed the Lagos State Sector Command of the FRSC to start the prosecution. He called on professional bodies in the entertainment industry, including the Actors Guild, Influencers Network, and Content Creator Association, to take responsibility for the conduct of their members and promote responsible behavior on the road. The Corps Marshal noted that celebrities and influencers wield significant influence, especially among young Nigerians, and one that they must serve as ambassadors of safety rather than symbols of recklessness. For details of that story, see the Nation's newspaper with this headline: FRSC to prosecute TikToker over alleged reckless driving.
And before moving to the second segment of the program for today, where we'll be having our in-house analyst who will be giving us a view and preview on the headline making stories in Nigeria and beyond today, I want us to quickly take this story before moving on to the second edition, the second segment of the program. We have this one coming from the Guardian newspaper, talking about Osun 2026. PDP Sean own candidate adopt Accord parties Adeleke. Now to the detail of this particular story coming from the Guardian newspaper. Chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Osun State, Sunday BC, has declared that the party's entire structure would support and work for the second term emergence of the governor Ademola Adeleke. It will be recalled that Adeleke left the PDP and joined the Accord Party AP recently, where he clinched the party's ticket for the August 8, 2026 governorship election. BC, in an interview with the Guardian in Osogbo, said he would not be joining Adeleke in the Accord Party, but noted that the governor has been endorsed ahead of the election. He said, and I quote, "I have not come to any political party. I remain the PDP chairman in Osun State, and my tenure subsists till 2027. However, the entire structure of the PDP in Osun State is behind Governor Ademola Adeleke, we have already endorsed him for a second term, and we will ensure that happen. He will win convincingly. BC, who found the ignorance of the existence of the People's Democratic Party's governorship candidate, Adebayo Adedamola, insisted that the party would go all out to ensure the victory of Adeleke under the platform of Accord Party. He, however, dismissed the fear, saying there was already a precedent. He said, and I quote, "There is nothing like anti-party in us, PDP. Supporting Adeleke for a second term is nothing new. When the party endorsed President Bola Tinubu of All Progressive Congress for a second term, there was nothing like anti-party." And with that, I'm welcoming our in-house analyst on today's edition, where we'll be reviewing the stories we have for the listeners today. Good morning, Mr. Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me on the program today.
Mr. Adebayo, welcome on the program. We have this issue coming from this last story that we read coming from Osun State, where we have the PDP chairman saying they are going to support Adeleke, who recently moved to AP, that's the Accord Party, recently saying they have endorsed him because there's nothing like anti-party in them because they endorsed President Bola Tinubu earlier on before. So they are saying that this particular issue, Adeleke moving to another party, they are going to endorse him and they are going to support him, although they are not moving to AP, that's the Accord Party. What's your take on this? What's your view on this? And what are you saying about this particular issue?
Thank you very much for having me once more on the program. Now, the PDP chairman, I think he has spoken very correctly from the angle of precedents. Now, there have been a precedents regarding the PDP of Osun State supporting the president, the person of President Bola Tinubu of the APC party. And as at then, there was no issue regarding him to have declared the support of PDP for the president then. So I don't think there should be any, that's why I said there is a precedence regarding his action, because he has once done it, supporting the president. Now, if he now said I want to support the governor, which as a matter of fact, that is his own immediate constituency, because he's from Osun State, is the PDP chairman of Osun State. So if he now says that he wants to support the governor, I think he had not said something out of space. That is one. Secondly, we all know that Adeleke is a PDP aborigine, and not just from him, even from inception. He was a PDP governor, senator when he was in the Senate, and equally, he used to be a PDP governor as well. Now, for him to have done both from PDP to Accord, it's one thing led to the other, which, as a matter of fact, we cannot begin to discuss here. PDP is engulfed in the kind of terrible imbroglio that nobody sees a solution to it as at this moment. So, for him to have done party, it's a matter of political calculation and permutation. That doesn't mean that if PDP member supports him, because as he's going to Accord now, he's currently going with some of his PDP members, though he went alone. But we all know that the structure of PDP of Osun State will no doubt support him in the new party. He thinks he can fly his governorship ambition. So for the chairman to have said that, I think he has not said anything out of space. He has rather said his own position on the matter, because there's a precedent regarding it for him to have supported the president regarding the presidential election, declaring for the president. I don't think now declaring for the governor in another party, it should be an offense. So I think it's a welcome development, and I think that's the sign of delicate, from our own analysis, from our own perspective, coasting to victory, because PDP is not against him in the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that beautiful contribution. And away from that, we have this one from Donations, and it says FRSC to prosecute TikToker over alleged reckless driving. I think that was on Sunday when the popular TikToker Pella, yes, Abib Amzat, actually had his car crashed while on a live stream. And according to FRSC, that was actually distracted driving. So now they want to prosecute him and also ensure that every other celebrities are not against or are not bigger than the law. So what do you think about that?
Okay, let me quickly add to what you just said now. About that, there are some allegations against Pella, known as Pella, Abib, known as Pella, that he did that intentionally to frustrate, because there are some issue that he had a breakup and the like, something like that have been going on and on. There are some allegations like that
that
have been going on and on. So I think this particular issue we need to dwell more on, because being an influencer, you influence the public. You have the way of influencing others because they are looking at you like a role model. There are some that are looking at him like a role model. This particular issue and this particular eating that's being brought up by the Federal Safety Corps, I think it is very necessary. But I want you to just dwell on it and take us to the stance about this particular issue.
Thank you very much. That should be deterrent to every action or inactions. Now, like you rightly said, this person, Pella, is an influencer. The very minute action or is not prosecuted, I can assure you, other people go, because these are people that influences our youth, either positively or negatively. Now, for him to have embarked on a mission that is not even ready to accomplish, then I think he should be prosecuted. Thank God he's still alive. Had he been he's dead now, it could have been a forgotten issue. But now that he's alive, he needs to be prosecuted and to be charged accordingly. I begin to imagine, how could you say that you want to kill yourself? I somehow for even though said it, you want to commit suicide, you now use a seatbelt. If what he should have been back on it and maybe get himself killed immediately he wanted to kill himself. But for him to have now painted a picture of him trying to commit suicide without is an intent. And as a matter of fact, since he survived it, I think the road safety is they're on the right course. It should be prosecuted because these are influencers. In fact, like I've always said, majority of these influencers, that is why our social media needs to be regulated. I'm obsessed with you. When Alhaji Dame was saying the other day, you thought he was saying things out of space, but it is now becoming obviously obvious that social media is to be regulated. So many terrible things are ongoing on the social media, and it's amazing. The Chinese people that are actually producing these phones, that are actually introducing on social media, they are not using it the way we are using it. There's absolutely nothing we don't abuse in this country. A social media in China is used to influence the youth positively. A social media handles in China is used to bring about production in China. But in Nigeria here, what are you using it for? All manners of terrible things. If you don't see people saying they want to commit suicide, you saw people embarking on naked dancing, dancing nude on social media. Is that what those things are meant for? And it's so unfortunate. So if the FRSC, which is as a matter of fact, is a statutory function to prosecute him for embarking on such reckless driving, I think is a welcome thought. And the guy should be prosecuted accordingly and to be charged. If it involves sentencing, so be it, so that other people can learn from him that you can't just embark on activities that will bring about negative influence on the youth that are seeing you as a role model on social media handles. Thank you very much.
As you rightly said, being an influencer, not giving the bad perspective of yours to the public because they are trying to follow your role, they are trying to follow your way. For our listeners listening at home, if you want to share your own 1 cent, your own perspective, your opinion, your view on the program for today, you can also join us on this edition on 081 655 about the issue of Ademola Adeleke and the chairman saying they are going to support the AP, that's the APGAP, the Accord Party from the PDP without moving from the PDP, but they are going to support him. And this is another issue of Pella having an intentional accident because there's some allegation because of the breakfast or something like that that he had that. Because of that, you can also share your own view on today's edition on 081 65524699 081 65524699 or 081 32747339 081 32747339. Let's move on to these another emerging issue coming from Kwara State from the PDP as well. This one talking about the PDP 6th state emergency in Kwara State says Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak is a security risk due to the issues that has been occurring in Kwara State, the issue of kidnapping, the banditry and terrorism that has been occurring in Kwara State. What do you have to say about this issue?
Thank you very much. The PDP to be calling for the declaration of some sort of emergency in Kwara State. To me, I don't see that as something that is bad. Because if APC did similar thing when people was in government, so it's kind of getting back at each other. But the question is this: does it want state of emergency being declared in Kwara? I think the answer is yes. Particularly when it borders down on insecurity, it's not going to affect. Many people do mistake declaration of state of emergency on security on probably the governor will be removed like it was similar to part of River State. No, it happened in Plateau State then. I think it was during Darie era that the president then, president of President Olusegun Obasanjo asked, is it Obasanjo or Jonathan, asked to declare, I think it was Obasanjo, asked to declare a state of emergency on security. I think either Plateau and one other state. Now, these are the things. So a president can declare state of emergency on insecurity. You can declare state of emergency on medicals, on health rather. You can declare state of emergency on education. So state of emergency transcends maybe just saying that executive arm and what have you should step down. No, it's far more than that. In the case whereby the state governor cannot handle the security of the state, a president can declare state of emergency. So for the PDP to have called and make such call is not out of space, but at the same time, to me, I see the kind of hit back, because ABC would have done same thing if PDP were to be the end at the end of the affair in Kwara State. So I don't think PDP has said anything bad. All the governor needs to do in person of Abdurrahman Abdulrazak now is to wake up to the call. You should wake up to the challenge. You should take the bull by the horn. And as God will have it now, at least there have been interventions. As God will have it now, we now have a chief of defense minister of defense that happens to be a retired general that is ready to go out there in tackling these and non-state actors. So I think it is that time for the governor to write or to appeal to the minister for defense to come and look into the state of insecurity in Kwara State. So to me, I don't think it's out of space. All the governor needs to do is to be up and doing to his responsibility as the chief security officer of Kwara State. Thank you very much.
During this tenure, there are some recent things that have been happening in Kwara State, the issue of this insecurity and the likes, and the issue of the banditry. But there are some intervention being made by the Nigerian Army, most especially by making sure there are some like a recurrent brigade, or let me just call it a barrack, in the Kwara North, most especially the issue of those Patigi, all these Ekiti, Kwara and the likes. There are some little space for soldiers to be there with them, because the people are not safe there. Because there are many states in Nigeria recently that have been facing these recurrence. Do you think all these states, most especially the Niger state, we have the Borno state and more like that, there are some states, even Kogi state as well, they have been having this recurrence issue of kidnapping? Like a day you have the issue of kidnapping 100, the issue of kidnapping and something like that, or terrorism being terrorizing the community or some communities in those areas. Do you think all these communities or all these states should declare state of emergency?
Well, when it comes to, of course, like I said, the president has the prerogative to declare state of emergency. In a case whereby the state governors, which are supposed to be the chief security officer of the states, are not being able to tackle the issue of insecurity, it can be declared based on insecurity. And of course, and like I've always said, declaring state of emergency is not the lasting solution. The solution is for the president to put more pressure on the National Assembly to pass the bill for state police creation. If state police is created, now I can assure you, this issue of insecurity will be, will be checked to a reasonable level. So to me, all I just think the president should do now is to mount more pressure on National Assembly in making sure that the constitution is amended that can tolerate ABOR and give for the creation of state police. But if in the interim, the president can still declare state of emergency in those states. We are talking about security here. Nobody can go to farm. You can't go back doing your business legitimately. Children can no longer go to school. Even when you are driving on your own, you are scared. So if the president should declare state of emergency in those troubled areas, I think it's the welcome call to the best of my own understanding and knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Also, we have this one from the Punch, and it talks about Ondo APC and PDP clash over 10,000 naira handout by Ayedatiwa. And they are having contrary opinion as to what should be obtainable. So what do you have about that?
And also, let me just chip into that to give you more insight on that particular issue. We have the PDP saying the just concluded tour, like the tour that Governor Aidatiwa, Governor Aidatiwa did yesterday to the Akoko Northwest, Akoko Southwest, Akoko Southeast, and the likes like that, the 4 local governments, that he handed out to residents in those areas. They've been complaining that the PDP have been having that issue, that he should have just tried to make that to embark on the commissioning of toll, the completed projects, rather than parading communities to share 10,000 naira handout. And now APC are now coming out saying that this kind of toll was being made by Ondo State Governor Lucky Aidatiwa, just to reach out to the people, to thank them, to see to hear their needs, and to cater for whatever they are asking for, so that he will have a face-to-face communication with the people, so that he can communicate and understand them better without sharing any money. But PDP are going out now saying that, okay, this kind of talk, Ondo State governor actually shared 10,000 naira and out to the residents of Akoko local government.
Well, thank you very much. The issue of the governor embarking on thank you visit, as he has called it, and we should not receive ourselves. At time when you want to say thank you to somebody, maybe you send somebody on an errand, you want to say thank you, it might be material, it might be just normal gesture of handshake, as the case may be. You understand? So, to me, for the PDP to have called out the governor, like I've always said, we are talking about political parties. And whenever you are in a particular political party, you are always particular about your own interest. So, it's a kind of, getting at the governor. And of course, the APC has equally responded. So it's very minute it begins to border within party to party. Then we do, as a matter of fact, most of the time people don't give it serious meaning. But if it is an internal issue, maybe a fellow APC stalwart in the state is the one condemning such act, then you should understand at that instance that probably the party is having an internal crisis. You understand? So to me, PDP had not said anything out of content. You understand? All what they want to say is that, and of course, we should not deceive ourselves. It could have been more sickening to the ear if the governor has actually gone to commission projects compared to going out there to give handouts and handouts to those people. But to me, at the same time, it might be a way of showing appreciation. That okay, like what the news said, is to embark on President Tinubu 2027 campaign and whatever the case may be. But of course, everything goes pari passu. All the same, the people that collected 10,000 naira is maybe for a transport fare, or maybe just to, it all depends on the arrangement that is being made. But at the same time, commissioning of projects will be of more importance than going out there to give handout or 10,000 naira to the people of the region you actually visited. But at the same time, everything should just be done pari passu. As is commissioning projects, as God will have it, it can equally show appreciation by giving them one or two things. So that's my own take on the story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution. To reach us on our studio line, it's 0816-552-4699. 0816-552-4699. Also 0813-274-7339. 0813-274-7339. Also, still taking reactions and analysis from the story read today. We have this one talking about APC chairman appoints media aide. What do you have to say about the personality of the person appointed to be the media in person of Abimbola Toki?
Well, I don't know much about Abimbola Toki, but for the APC chairman to have appointed that person as his media aide, definitely he must have his resume. He must be well furnished with his activities.
Yeah, he actually has a background in journalism.
Yeah, so that is just so. I don't think a party chairman will not generally so low to pick up somebody that doesn't have experience in journalism, because he's going to be his spokesperson. He's going to be his mouthpiece. So as a matter of fact, all you need to do is to put into consideration his expertise in media. What he can deliver, his previous actions, his resume. So if he is convinced that okay, this person is just employed, can perform wonderfully well as his media aide, so be it. He knows him better than we do. There's a limit to what we do about that person. She understands. But for him to have appointed him as his media aide is a very sensitive position. So I think he must have equally considered the sensitivity of the position of being a media aide into the parameter he will probably consider as well in employing such person to be his media aide. So I think to me, he knows better for why he have chosen that person to be his own media aide. So that means his own personal affair. And if he goes out there and starts maybe doing otherwise, well, he'll be the one to bear the brunt. So that is my own 2 cents on the story. Thank you very much.
And for our listeners listening at home, let me just give you a quick insight into the person who was just appointed as the special advisor on media and communication to the All Progressive Congress National Chairman in person of Abimbola Toki. Abibola Toki is a seasoned journalist and a media strategist that served as the editor of Business World newspaper, overseeing editorial direction, production, and cooperative management. He previously rose through the rank at Finance Tech Standard, earning recognition of the leadership and the professional excellence. He is a familiar voice on broadcast media, appearing as a guest analyst on platforms including the channel's television, where he provides insight on public policy and national issues. Also, his role is in shaping the party communication strategy. Toki is an effective communication in central to ensure the party's vision and policy are clearly understood by Nigerians. He studied and took an MBA from Obafemi Awolowo University, a postgraduate diploma in journalism from the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and a bachelor degree in language and art from the University of Ilorin. Now moving on to this last story that we'll be having for today before going on this edition. We have this issue coming from the Punch newspaper. We have Tinubu pledges to sustain Buhari's legacy. I want us to just dissect into this because Tinubu pledging now that he's going to sustain Buhari's legacy, and people has been drawing concern, people has been drawing attention into this particular matter that is going to sustain his legacy. What do you have to say on this?
Thank you very much. The president have always said he's going to sustain Buhari's legacy. To the best of my knowledge and understanding, has always attracted criticism. So I think that's why I always discuss the issue of sensitivity. You know, as a matter of fact, anything you say out there goes a long way in determining or in shaping your administration. Even when you are doing the right thing. The question is this: you say want to sustain a particular person's, legacy. But legacy could be positive, it could be negative. I want to believe that probably the president wants to sustain the former president's legacy from the positive angle, because as it is now, many people are assessing the late past administration led by President Muhammadu Buhari as the worst in Nigerian political history. You understand? So I want to believe that for the president to have said that he wants to sustain his legacy, he could have just taken a step further by actually enumerating the areas at which he wants to sustain his legacy. But for him to just go on here and say that he wants to sustain his legacy or in which area? Is it in the area of corruption that is so endemic that almost ruined this country, that brought this country to its knee, that he wants to sustain? So these are the things. So the president needs to be very sensitive and careful and cautious of his utterances when he borders down on the issue of sustaining Buhari's legacy. He would have done himself a real good if he has taken a step further by actually enumerating the legacies he wants to sustain.
He actually did, because he outlined some things here. He said the late president was embodiment of quiet strength. He was disciplined, and of course he had an enduring grace rooted in service. So I guess that is the area in which he wishes to, continue the legacy from.
Well, if that is the area I want to continue from, the welcome development is a very good one. But all I'm just saying is that the president needs to be very, very sensitive when it borders down on him saying that he wants to sustain Buhari's legacy.
He also mentioned this particular part that even though many people who disagree with him often acknowledge Buhari as an honest man.
Well, to a large extent you consider Buhari as an honest man. But the question is this: the people that work with him, are they honest? But he's being honest it can be best measured from the people that actually work with him, can be best measured from what happened in his own administration. So you cannot separate the water from the mud. The water came from the mud. You should not deceive ourselves. You understand? So because the water is not clean, doesn't mean that it not come from the mud. You understand? So what we are trying to say in nutshell is that no matter how good Buhari must have performed, no matter his good character, no matter his honesty, all the people that work with him. So that's where the issue lies. You can now see now many of them have been dragged to the EFCC now. Yes, I invested virtually everybody that sat under him. So it's very, very good, like I've said, for the president to be so specific when it comes to the issue, to the area of him saying that he wants to sustain Buhari's legacy. He must make it so explicit and make it well understood to people to know that this is the area at which I so desire to sustain Buhari's legacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution. And with that, we'll come to an end of the second segment, and of course, a wrap on today's edition of In the Papers.
Starting from the old newspaper, we started with these talking about 2027. We talked about Ayedatiwara's support for Tinubu in thank you too. And also from the Punch newspaper.
From the Hope newspaper, we said Malami knocks EFCC chairman on prosecution and alleged bias.
On the Hope newspaper brought to you that shortlisted candidate to appear for Amotekun screening in Ondo.
We also told you that FCTI court chairman proceeds on Christmas and New Year vacation for December 2022.
We also brought to you that Tinubu pledges to sustain Buhari's legacy.
And lastly, we informed you from the Guardian that PDP 6 states of emergency in Kwara State, says governor on security risk.
And until tomorrow, we'll be coming for another beautiful edition of the papers. I am Abdulrazak Alayo, and me is
Florence Ibahreman.
Do have a pleasant good morning and have a lovely day ahead.
Good morning to you.
I think this starts you.
Can you?
Yeah,